Hello, I'm Design News Senior Editor Dan Carney, and coming up on the Engineering Solutions by Design News podcast, we talk to Nissan's Z-Car Senior Project Engineer Matt Wright, who will tell us about his team's greatest challenge developing Nissan's next generation flagship sports car and how they conquered it. Welcome to the Engineering Solutions by Design News podcast, and thank you for listening. Today's guest is Matt Wright. He's a senior project engineer for the 2023 Nissan Z, who can tell us about the development of the Z's steering and powertrain calibration. I would think that a project like a Z car is not the sort of thing that comes along very often and must be a highlight. And along with that, probably there are heightened expectations. So I'm wondering if you can talk about what were your thoughts about how exciting is this project, and what was the biggest challenge that you faced in doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you are 100% correct. The projects like the Z don't come around often, and to be one of the ones who gets to participate in that is exciting. And the challenge that presented the most trouble for us was the travel restrictions due to the COVID situation in Japan. That prevented us from doing our typical processes for evaluation and tuning. Typically, we would get everybody from US side and Japan side that's involved. We'd get everybody together at the same place and same time, testing in the same cars on the same roads. Basically using the time gap between United States and Japan to our advantage. So we would go out during the day here in the United States, and we would do the things that we'd normally do with our Japanese counterparts. We'd collect some data. We would, do our subjective evaluations for what feels right and what needs some more work.
Where are the kinds of places where you would go to do that?
Yeah, we have routes throughout Arizona and California. Those guys would then go make adjustments to the software and the maps and the ROMs and send that back to Japan. And then while we're here sleeping in the United States, Japan was updating their vehicles with the new software, and they'd go evaluate on their proving grounds, and they would do the same thing. And they'd feed back to us and make recommendations, and then we'd do it all again.
Did you find that this around-the-clock development process ended up actually accelerating your work?
I don't know I'd say it accelerated it, but I do think there were some benefits that came out of it. One of them, they really had to allow us to take more control of some of the tuning. And that's not to mean that we did the whole thing. It just means that typically they would be here in the United States doing the actual, software tuning and some more of the technical aspect of it. But they weren't able to do that. So they actually had to hand over that responsibility to us in some part and let our guys here do that actual software tuning. It ended up helping to build that relationship between ourselves and Japan. So that was really good.
So going forward, does that mean that you'll be able to do that same sort of a role in future projects as well, now that you maybe earned their trust?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. It's helpful for everybody. And it's also helpful because it can reduce the number of iterations, right? So if we have guys here that know clearly what we're trying to resolve, and they're able to just go into the software and make the changes that resolve it, and then we can just show directly what we're trying to do. That's helpful. It just cuts down on the back and forth trying to iron out exactly what we're looking to do.
That's fantastic. What was your favorite outcome from this project?
I think, the team in general is really proud of the steering. So that was something that one of the things that our Japanese counterparts had to let go of a little bit and let us get more involved because of those travel restrictions. We've become pretty good at the steering tuning and the software side of that locally. So those guys did an excellent job getting some good steering tuning into this new EPS system.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like the project worked out maybe unexpectedly well under the circumstances. So congratulations on that accomplishment.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Engineering Solutions by Design News podcast, where we explore the solutions engineers have devised to their very toughest challenges.